sometimes in the North, and it's not just the North, but it's anywhere where there hasn't been an obvious disaster or some disruption of normal life, that people just have this sense that everything's okay. But here, everybody's been through something that has forced them to reflect, think about causes. Some of them have faced, a lot of them have faced death. Some of their lives are very different than they were before. So people are reflective and open to conversation.
The whole aspect of not making it a point to like go out and church people, so to speak, but let the conversations just flow and not worry so much about trying to get the entire Bible explained to somebody, and just ask them simple questions like, well, how is the work that was done before now? Like, is it holding up? Or just walking through their house and they'll show you stuff that's still damaged in some cases, or things that had been fixed, things that they still are trying to work on. Heard a lot of stories about bureaucracy and a lot of holdups and years spent in trailers or living in tents or having to move out of state for periods of time. But I think the most important aspect was that people just got to say whatever they wanted to say to us without holding back.
If you're at all involved with your local church to any degree, or if you care about Scripture at all, if you don't have a heavy heart about serving or anything, you should pray about it. Because we're supposed to work out our salvation with fear and trembling, and if we become stagnant in our faith or our walk, if we just become so content that we just don't care about the world, I'd ask some questions about where your salvation's at. You know, since birth, essentially, the media and the culture just fills you with helping the poor, not necessarily for a Christocentric reason, but commercials about poverty countries and with just $1 kind of stuff. And so that's what we're just used to, I think, in America. And therefore, when I became a believer a few years ago, it kind of took that mindset into a lot of Scripture that talked about helping the poor and poverty, and this really, really just illuminated those passages for me. And my prayer this whole week has been, how can we take this back to DeKalb?
I want to convey to others that might be coming in the future, that the heaviness of the stories and the realization that we live in this like frozen fear of man all the time. Because in the past, even before this week, I would have said, no, I'm not afraid of people at all. But then you realize you are, because you never get deeper than that, like skin deep conversation. You know, like, yeah, what's up? Oh, nothing much. You good? Yeah. You know, and this is like hours of conversation, and you can just tell that these people have wanted somebody just to come along and ask them, what did you go through? What were your experiences? And when you hear some of them literally saying that they've never really coped yet emotionally with certain aspects of things that have happened in the last 5 years or so, it just blows your mind, because you think that by now there'd have been plenty of time to at least talk to their own friends. But then you realize that some of them are really alone, like just for whatever reason they have so many problems with their families or friends, and just the sin of the world gets in the way.
What makes this unique and special to me, in contrast to past trips I've been on, where it's just humanitarian work, which is what this might seem like. This is very much local church based, local church focused. I think that's been one of the most exciting things this whole time, is that I know that the connections that we had and the work we're doing here is not going to be in vain because of God's plan for the local church and Sovereign Grace Fellowship being right here and what they're doing. And so, you know, the work we've only been able to do for a week, even though we're leaving, I've never had an experience where we can just leave and trust that, you know, the follow-ups are going to continue, and there's going to be a continual connection with the church, in a good church, sound biblical church. And so that's what I'm excited about, and I pray that whoever's watching this would be excited about that too.